All right, everybody. Well, we are, as always, honored and excited to have another one of our Note family members, one of our team members that works not only for us, doesn't work for us, sorry, works with us, but works with a lot of our students, a lot of our mastermind members, who has been an integral part in our growth, and our students closing on a lot of deals. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the ProTitle USA legend, Mr. Alex Goldovsky, joined us from also up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Right outside of Philly, yeah.
Right outside of Philly there. So, Alex, why don't you share who you are, kind of your little bit of background before you dive into your main meat and potatoes.
Sounds good. So my name is Alex Goldovsky. I'm the CEO and president of ProTitle USA. Little bit about how I got started. Maybe that's interesting. So I was the passive investor in the title company and active investor in a lot of real estate assets, student housing, and when I had my first kid, I invested in this apartment complex in Philly, where it was in pretty big units. I think it was 8 to 12 units, and I got in trouble with drug dealers who moved into my apartments that I couldn't get rid of. So I lost a bunch of tenants because of them, and I had a few run-ins with folks standing there with guns and pointing at me at, who are you? And well, I had to dance around and say, hey, I own this building. Oh, okay, you can come in, type of thing. But it was pretty scary. So my wife said, listen, you don't have to take chances and, do this stuff for your living. How about just go to the service business? So I used my IT and engineering background to build this company, ProTitle USA, that really focuses on diligence and doing things better than others. So when you hear a story of entrepreneurs, I'm probably one of them, where I just didn't like services offered by a company that rendered services on the title to me. So I said I can do things better, and that's how the company got launched. And with the IT background, we created this very nice automation and around the processing and quality control that I'll touch on a little bit today. And we decided to offer things nationwide to folks that buy properties at the foreclosure auctions. Well, that was a complete miss. Nobody wanted to buy properties or property reports at the foreclosure auctions. I had an idea, hey, I'll stand them next to the foreclosure auction doorsteps and sell my reports. And, I tried it once and nobody bought. I said, well, they probably did it beforehand. And that's how we started a massive online advertising and going after some of the funds that buy in huge volume. Today, 12 years later, the business is booming. We have as clients, huge names like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, HUD, SBA, a lot of active funds now on the streets, process thousands and thousands of orders at the shortest times of, maybe under a week. So it's really mushroomed into this service company that offers services to folks that buy one loan at a time or one asset at a time, to folks that are buying in thousands or 10,000s of loans. So it's I guess it's sort of a success story on how to go from zero to a multi-million-dollar company. So that's a little bit about us. There you go.
That's a whole lot better than this, then, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So if we're really as a company we go after a broad spectrum of markets, not only asset purchases or note purchases or contract for deeds, but also, let's say, a insurance market. When hurricane or a disaster strikes, we play together with insurance companies to pay off homeowners. When funds are destined to trump wall, we are there to do a title research on the border of Mexico. When Boring Company with Elon Musk is building a tunnel in city of Chicago, we're researching the land that would go under the roads and railroads on how the tunnel will go from O'Hare Airport to Chicago. So we, or oil and gas, call it Keystone Pipeline, whenever that happens, we're going to be there researching the easement researches and signing the leases with some of the giants there. So it's really spans in a lot of places, and if you're starting in this business, and I'm sure you come from a different business, you might have seen our names there as well.
Yeah, well-known name, well-known service, and just doing amazing things out there, not only for note investors, but investors of any sort out there for the most part. So one of the biggest things, one of the things we've gotten into this so far, Alex, so you have an idea, is being first day, we've talked about how they're finding and reaching out to banks and asset managers and getting in lists. And so we were just sharing like one list of like 60 first liens that I got in from a bank and a seller just yesterday, and how kind of narrowing it down, doing some initial due diligence to identify the assets you want. And then, once we've made a bid and either that bid is accepted or counter or kind of thing, that's when they've got to dive in and do some heavy lifting and start looking at the title and the O&E reports to really start looking at the due diligence aspect of things. So that's why I'm glad you're on here at this time, because we just had Shantae on with Madison over an hour ago, and so it's kind of a good two of the most key components is the title, and then making sure your servicing is all good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me jump into what we do and when you would engage us. So let's see. Yeah. How do I share the screen again? Oh, there you go. Found it.
You have your PowerPoint pulled up already on your screen?
Yes. There you go.
Look at that. They started sharing screen, and it should pop it up there, and then just put that in present. Look at you. You're perfect at this.
All right. So let me go through some of the things that you can rely on us for. So obviously, as I mentioned, we are Inc. 5000, first of all, 5 years in a row. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, our growth was phenomenal, and we made Inc. 5000 5 years in a row, which is very, very hard. Only a handful of companies were able to achieve that. So, we focus on tax and title, right? Not only tax and title, but we also do, which I'll talk about, a few services that you really need to know about when you're an investor in the notes or in assets, okay? So we do high volume or we do singles, so that doesn't matter. A lot of questions come in and say, hey guys, you're so big and I only have one asset. It doesn't matter to us. We go through the same process. We do curative actions, we do title and tax exams, which is really a page-by-page review of the PDF file for your specific title. We do bankruptcy searches to identify if the liens were stripped or if you're buying second liens, if the second is secured or not secured. We do HOA payoffs and searches. We do all kinds of township searches for unrecorded liens, and couple of more things here. We are highly customizable, so if you're a volume client, we are investing our IT resources to customize the solution for you. We just utilize the machine learning and different workflows, including OCR, so we can do all kinds of cool things. We launched the rebuttal services and unrecorded lien services, all integrated into a single reporting structure for some of the volume buyers. And of course, we, as I mentioned, are entrenched in many industries, and if you are buying an asset, you need to have in your ecosystem title vendor, you need to have a doc prep and recording company, foreclosure attorneys, servicers, the title insurance company, if you foreclose on the property or you execute the deed in lieu to go and issue a title insurance. So we know all of them, and we'll certainly help you as the investor to get connected with that crowd. So some of the things that we do, and this is a pretty good slide on our spectrum. So we do O&E reports, if I'm going from the upper right corner, which is the same thing as the title report. In different parts of the country, the title report on real estate property is called a different thing. Mainly in the title community, it can be referred as O&E report. Owners and encumbrances report. That's the abbreviation. We do rebuttal and lien validation services. I'll get into it a little later. This is fairly new to us. We just launched it this year, and already 2 very large funds are engaging us in doing that as they sell the assets to the buyers, such as yourself, or if you're the seller. Certainly, this is a very interesting service to you. I'll tell you what to expect as a result from that service. Tax and Title Dashboard with the lien reporting. So that's really a, what's Tax and Title Dashboard? It's an Excel. It's an Excel that will analyze the title in the portfolio and will tell you, is your lien you're buying or mortgage you're buying in the first position, what liens would survive the foreclosure, how do the taxes look, if you engage us in the bankruptcy service, you know, the judgments that we report on title, how are they in bankruptcy, right? Are they stripped through bankruptcy as an unsecured judgments, or they still remain on title? So all kinds of important decisions that are relating to correlation between bankruptcy and title will be as a part of a single reporting structure, which is an Excel. We utilize OCR and document data extraction, so that's machine learning. This is an OCR, and we customize the solutions for all kinds of clients. So if it doesn't matter if you're in title business or if you're a healthcare business, right? You deal with receipts, invoices, documents. If you are not looking into OCR and document solutions, machine learning, then you're really staying behind the technology. We do the township searches. What are the township searches? So let's stop there, right? So you have a title report, which is the county records and the civil courts report on what's outstanding against the property and the borrower. So once you understand that, the next question is, all right, is there anything else that can hurt me as an investor? And the answer is yes. So water and sewer will attach balances, not liens, balances will attach in 50% of the United States. Okay, so you need to know the balance of water and sewer. You need to know if the township where the property is located, keeps their own databases of unrecorded liens, such as orders, municipal violations, environmental liens, code enforcement liens, permit violations, which can translate to a large amounts. So here's an example. In Buffalo, New York, there was a property, and the investor lost the mortgage, completely wiped out, by City of Buffalo licensing department for not getting the right licenses. And it was for a few $100,000, no, for a few $1,000s. The mortgage was a few $100,000, right? Why? The investor did not do a township search, did not investigate, are there all permits in place, any issues or orders kept within township. So if you're buying one asset at a time and you acquired the asset and you're in diligence process, the very first thing you want to do is you want to call in the tax office, and Scott, I'm sure, told you about it, and then you want to call the township code enforcement department, you want to call the permit departments and find out if the property is in good standing. If you have a volume of those requests, we can help. We have a service either for one or for thousands to go and deploy our resources to go and call the townships. So we have a few services for post-sale compliance. We have a service for title underwriting. So in other words, you receive the title back. Your next question should be, all right, I'm buying this mortgage. Is my mortgage enforceable? What does enforceable mean? Can I foreclose on the property? Okay, so the answer depends, right? Do I have the original note? If the answer is yes, you're on your way there. Do I have a clean assignment chain? In other words, my mortgage was assigned many, many times, and if there's a break in the assignment chain where the party of the assignee and assignor don't connect to each other, it's considered a break, and therefore the borrower can say, hey, you received the mortgage, or you have a mortgage assigned to you with the break in the chain, and therefore you don't have the clean chain of assignment, and therefore you don't have the right to foreclose. Go fix that chain, which is an easy thing to do, and then you can go and reapply for the foreclosure. am I foreclosing on the right legal description? So in some cases, the foreclosure was dismissed because the legal description was for the neighboring property and not for the subject property. So there's a lot of little caveats in the documents themselves that we look at, and we have about 300 defects that we search for in every page of the mortgage-related document. Here's an interesting one to think about. You know, life estates, right? So when the older person gives the property to their kids and kids take out the mortgage, if the older person living in the property gave the property with the right to reserve a life estate, which means the person can live there until the person is deceased, and the mortgage did not have that wording that the mortgage goes to the kids and to the life estate of the older person who lives in the property, the mortgage lender cannot foreclose out on the property and cannot kick out the person, older person living in the property, because the life estate is not the subject to that mortgage. I hope you follow me. Okay, so this is a pretty convoluted example that we would uncover during the title underwriting piece. The next is, well, for curative services. So let's say you bought a mortgage and then you say, oops, I have all kinds of issues, I need somebody to help. Can somebody help me to cure all kinds of defects, muni liens, tax liens, broken chain of assignments, prime mortgages? The answer is yes, we can. We do all kinds of exception and grading report. We run a very heavy bankruptcy search, and we have foreclosure attorneys and staff to do it. Obviously, our data is a metadata which is available through the Excel or through the API, and for some clients, we open an API link so they can go place orders and receive our data through the API. Then we have a separate suite of products for second lien buyers, and that's going to be a very hot market. Reverse mortgage buyers, which is also a hot market now, and obviously we create all kinds of workflows and reporting. So why are we so great in the market? Why are we catching on fire with all those fonts? Well, it all comes down to the accuracy of the report, right? So to me, the title search can be received as a report from local title company, from First American, from Stewart, from offshore India, offshore China, offshore Philippines, I don't know, whoever does it. They claim they're the best, the cheapest, the fastest. I don't know what else they claim. To me, the accuracy is important. If somebody gives you a report for $5, I think, I don't know, WFG, which is a great underwriter, they launched a $5 report, 5-minute report, something like that. It's basically full automation for selected counties where they have the database subscriptions for. And it's great. It's 5 minutes, but the accuracy is as is. They don't stand by their work. To me, accuracy is the most important, right? If you miss a lien for $1 million, you're screwed. So we really need to focus on all the steps that are required to catch the issues before you get the report. So first, obviously, if you are our client, we set up a requirement for you. We make sure that we understand what you're buying, which translates to a very unique requirement for every client, for every market space. Then we have about 1,500 searches on the ground. Cover us nationwide. We have searchers in 4 states internally as a full-time employees in the research facilities, which may touch your order to execute it fast. And then we certainly apply that searching capability through LTS to process all the orders in parallel. Then we have automation, which are green marks here. It's a complete machine automation to verify that the human labor that was just performed has the highest level of accuracy, at least on the data level. Then we have examiners, quality control examiners, touching every file and verifying that the data that comes in and the title itself makes sense. And those are the folks that are searching for those 300 level defects that can be with every title. And then we have another person who is in charge of the dashboard, tax and title dashboard processing that would touch your file as a part of the overall portfolio delivery, and some of the larger funds really use those steps to go through full, thorough diligence cycles to create their custom reporting that they use to evaluate large portfolios. And certainly the bankruptcy, township, and water and sewer service is fully integrated in that reporting structure. So this is a workflow that some of the largest funds on the Wall Street use. If you're starting, you're saying, oh boy, where do I start? With one asset, we go through the same flow except the dashboard. We don't provide dashboard for just one asset. If you're getting to 20 assets at a time, now we can talk about utilizing this whole workflow to get you the most accurate and reliable information on the market. We can also do asset level reporting, all kinds of unique things with the per title, per single title orders as well. All right. So here's the workflow of what we go through and how is it tying to things that you need to know. So you bought the asset, you negotiated the price, you started the BPOs to figure out what the values are, or AVMs, whatever your options are. You kicked off the O&E report, which is the title. You contacted ProTitle ahead of time, you set up your account, you set up your profile, we're ready to take orders from you. Finally, you won an asset, you gave it to us. So we take an asset, we need to know from you, what are we doing with it? Are we just running the asset for contract for deed? Is it commercial, residential asset? Do you require us to go and run the township searches? Do we need to do a title exam? So we set up all this ahead of time, and we start the processing. So O&E reports, township searches, and bankruptcy searches are all done in parallel. They're all integrated into the text and title dashboard, which is presented in Excel. We then go through the title review, right? So this is an extra service that typically is needed to create a title exception reporting. What is that, you say? Well, let's say that you bought 10 loans and each title produced a defect. Now your job as the buyer during due diligence cycle, before you close on those assets, is to come back to the seller and say, Mr. Seller, I have on 10 files about 100 defects. Some are liens that are sticking to the property after the foreclosure based on the ProTitle report, and I would like to receive a reprice. Well, seller will not like this, but I think they have no choice. They knew probably ahead of time that some of the assets that were sold has some dirt or some hair on it, and they would expect you to come back with the reprice. So you come back, and ProTitle has an ability, after the title asset review, to give you a concise list of not only the liens and the amount of discount that you should ask for, but also all the defects. Let's say the chain of title is broken, chain of assignment is broken, or let's say that the subject mortgage is not recorded, or the subject mortgage is lost to HOA foreclosure in Nevada, which wipes off the mortgage, and therefore you want to kick it back. So the buckets that you're coming back to the seller with are typically, can be severe, which will be devastating for your investments. I just gave you an example of HOA foreclosure in Nevada. As Scott would probably point out, Texas is also very, very dangerous. Texas HOA can wipe off the mortgage as well as Massachusetts. So 3 states can really damage your investments. You can have utility foreclosure in Maryland wiping off the mortgage. You can have water and sewer utility certificate of sale in New Jersey wiping out the mortgage. So there's a lot of hidden dangers that you need to know about, and certainly we're experts in it, and provide you a concise report that you can take to the seller and say, well, here's a list. Now, seller will look at it, and they will go through something called rebuttal or lien validation, which is I will hire somebody, and in many cases it's us, that will verify that the buyer's claim for a discount is valid, right? And they would ask us or somebody else who is expert in their fields to agree or disagree in the reprice request or in the negotiated request. And then the negotiation will happen, and hopefully it'll settle down before the closing date of the trade, right? So that's where we play for the major part of this cycle. All right. So just to give you a quick example of, what we do as a part of the rebuttal and lien services, here is a few things that we run, right? So let's say you're a seller, you're selling 10 assets, or you're rebuttaling the buyer that asks for a discount. So the very first thing we do is we do a lien review. Is the lien or is the real, is it for subject property? Was the release of the lien missed by a researcher that was deployed by a buyer? We reviewed bankruptcy. Maybe the lien was stripped through bankruptcy, and therefore it's no longer enforceable. We go through statute of limitation, review not just on the state level, but also on the court level and the local township level. We do court docket reviews, we do title reviews, and so on. So, and then we actually go through the phone calls with the lien holder and find out what's the payoff. Is the lien real? Was it paid off and never released in the county records? So we do all that. And just to give you an example, here's one of the trades that was recently done. For people that don't know, it's an RPL trade, so it's a reperforming lien, which means it used to be non-performing. The borrower used to default on their payments, and then through either modification of the mortgage, bankruptcy, the borrower caught up on the payments, and now the mortgage itself is a performing mortgage. So we had a client that was selling 1,900 assets, 1,900 mortgages. The buyer of that pool of mortgages came back with a discount request of $500,000. And as you notice, it's a reperforming lien, so the borrower is paying, and it's hard to believe that, there are so many liens out there that the borrower selectively not paying. So the client was surprised. They hired us, and after we went through some of the rebuttal services or lien validation services, our client was extremely happy, and the total amount that was up for negotiation went from $500,000 to $186,000. Okay, huge savings for our client just on that service itself. We charge very minimum amount on lien validation. It's only $15 per asset. So that's the story on the rebuttal. Now, for some of the second lien buyers, which is a very hot topic, and maybe I should do a sidestep right now and share with you my view on the market. I think that's pretty valuable. So this is a midway, I guess, through the presentation where we can put a bookmark on Scott's video and say, well, maybe that's more important than the whole presentation itself. So we have all kinds of clients going through our shop, and we get to view the market as it happens. So if you look at the mortgage investment market, the NPL market is getting pretty dry. So there will be a lot of retrades from funds that bought NPLs from Fannie, Freddie, that are still NPLs, and they couldn't rework the mortgage. And those going to be a pretty dirty assets, and you really have to be on top of your due diligence, right? So don't allow them to play the game of hot potato, and pay attention to all the diligence reports and make sure that you know what to look for. If you don't, certainly you can call our staff and they'll go through the report with you. RPL is still pretty hot, RPL, reperforming lien market, but those mortgages are sold at the premium, right? And some of the larger funds, such as Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, are grabbing those reperforming liens and in thousands, right? So yesterday there was a Fannie Mae sale of 26,000 assets, 26 reperforming liens, which means the borrower caught up on payment and they're now, paying off the mortgage. They're no longer non-performing. So what's hot right now, right? So that's the next question. What will you see as the beginning investor? Obviously, you're going to see NPL dirt, right? So that's one thing. There's gold there, but you have to be very careful. You have RPL, but again, the price points for RPL, if you're not a large firm, it's pretty high. There's a market for reverse mortgages, and that market will be growing. What do I mean by that? HUD, Housing and Urban Development, is launching the vacant property sales in thousands of loans. So if you have a lot of money and you can spend I don't know, $100, $200 million, you can go and bid on that auction and compete against some of the usual suspects on the street. What are those auctions? It's reverse mortgages that were given to people, and now those people are deceased, so the property is vacant, right? It's past the redemption by heirs, and the bidder for those mortgages, reverse mortgages, is really getting a property. They have to go through the foreclosure of reverse mortgage, so nobody will dispute it because the borrowers are deceased and the heirs don't have any redemption period, and they get the property and now they sell it. Very attractive investment because you don't have to fight anybody, and the only thing you need to worry about are the liens on the property. So the reason why I say it's going to be a hot market, because through my channels I hear that HUD is going to continue to have those sales and fill the market with those type of investment types. And coming down to second liens. So second liens are HELOC mortgages, right? So there are tons of them on the market. Folks don't know what to do with them. A lot of lenders are sitting on a portfolio of 50 to 100,000 loans, seconds HELOCs that are not being deployed to the market. It's a hodgepodge of everything: unsecured, secured, performing, non-performing. So I see more and more activity on that market. Before it was very choppy. It was a few times a year a large bank would drop a large trade in the market. Somebody will get it, and then they'll JV with a lot of people, and then those second liens will find a way to some of the individual investors. I see this year changing a little bit. I see a lot of product for the seconds in the market or coming to the market. People are looking for next big investment. Before it was NPL. NPL is drying up until the recession kicks up, right? So we're talking about recession. When is it going to happen? Will it happen ever? If a recession hits, you will see a lot of supply of NPLs again, right? So you have about 2 years worth of, call it layover, between the cycle of NPLs going from 2008 to now, which we're towards the end of the cycle, 2-year layover until the next recession begins, and we're back to the next cycle, right? So you have time right now to go in and buy a few assets of NPLs, get yourself familiar to get ready for something called an opportunity fund, which a lot of large funds are holding as the cash reserves to go and jump on those assets during the recession, right? So that's kind of my spiel on the whole market and what to expect. I think it's if Scott wants, he can take that piece and put it in the front of the presentation, but that's up to Scott. So let me continue with the second liens.
Always glad to get your take on it, Alex, no matter whether it's beginning, the middle, or the end of it. It's good stuff, brother.
All right. So that's my spiel, and I don't know if, certainly if you listen to this and you want to give me your feedback on how you see the market, I'll gladly discuss that with you. So anyway, which I think it's going to be hot. I see this market is picking up quite a bit from last year. So we have very unique products. We have 3 products for that market, which are very, very unique to the market itself. Folks don't have it. The large diligence companies like First American or Stewart or others, they don't have it. They don't have this workflow. So we came out with it and we stick to it. And a lot of second lien funds are using it right now. So first is we have this automation scrub that goes through the assessment records in the county offices and treasuries offices to verify who owns the property. Okay. Why is it important? If you're buying a second lien, you're getting a data tape, which is really something that Scott will inform you about or has already informed you about. It's the asset abstract in one line of Excel with all kinds of data points. One of the data points is the borrower name. So the idea is if I know who owns the property right now with my automation, and I know the last sales date of the property through the assessor's database and the amount the property was sold for, I can make a relatively safe assumption that if my owner is completely different, I would consider my second lien to be unsecured. What does the unsecured means, you ask? Unsecured means that you cannot foreclose on it. It's no longer attached to the property, okay? Which means that, you know, you are buying something you cannot materialize into a payoff. So those assets, unsecured assets, they're pretty, you know, they also have a market, but they're pretty cheap. While secured assets, they are attached to the property, and if the property is being sold, you're getting 100% value for your mortgage. That's sort of like a gambling on the market to see if the property will be sold and you get all your money worth or nothing, right? So anyway, we have this dollar scrub that we call the dollar search automation, $1 per asset, where it goes through your data tape and verifies that each address and each borrower's name and each date of the mortgage that you're buying and how it corresponds to current ownership and the last sale, and we make a decision whether or not we think it's unsecured or not. So it's typically you buy second liens in volume, you buy it in hundreds or thousands, and that's a very quick and dirty way from us to identify if the mortgage is secured or not. Then we have a bankruptcy report for second liens available in an Excel spreadsheet, which really is a way for our attorney to look at the bankruptcy case for each asset and see if the second lien HELOC mortgage was stripped or became unsecured through bankruptcy. And it's very, very typical. When the borrower files for bankruptcy, the judge looks at all the payments and the creditors, and if the income is pretty low, the judge can approve the strip of the second lien to make it unsecured. In other words, you lose the right to foreclose. And basically, again, the paper itself that you bought, the mortgage itself, doesn't carry a lot of value. So this check will allow you to really understand where you are after the bankruptcy is completed. And finally, we have this product, which is a real title report product, only geared towards second lien market. It's a product that looks at the first lien. Is the first lien in bankruptcy? In other words, do I have a danger of losing my second lien that I just purchased relatively fast? Is my second lien stripped through first lien bankruptcy, HOA bankruptcy, tax sale, or it's still secured to real estate property, right? And knowing that will dictate how much you're willing to bid on that asset, right? So if you're buying a portfolio of 1,000 second lien mortgages, and your seller represents that all of those mortgages are secured by real estate, you run those 3 steps of diligence and you say, Mr. Seller, 50% of those loans are unsecured, you represented them as secured, and therefore either take it back, provide a discount as an unsecured loans, there's a few ways you can handle this situation. Now, the way to represent the workflow, which I'll represent in this chart, if you have a performing second, which means it's secured to the real estate, you would run this real title report. It's available in PDF format and available in the dashboard, which will tell you, it's an Excel, right, which will tell you if the second is secured and unsecured. If you have a non-performing second, right, which is 120-day delinquent, my recommendation is you would run this dollar scrub, right? You would sort out the unsecured assets or the assets that really we can't do anything on, sometimes with the bad addresses, PO boxes, or something that our system does not understand. You would put it in an unsecured bucket if they're unsecured, and you would say, all right, for mortgages that ProTitle is telling us through this little test that have the same owner's name as my borrower's name, I think they're secured, let me go check the bankruptcy on them. So you go check the bankruptcy, and let's say a certain percentage of them in the waterfall will fall out because of bankruptcy strips. So those, again, go to unsecured bucket. And the loans that survive both dollar scrub and bankruptcy scrub go to a real search step, which we call the second lien search. And through the dashboard, we would give you a report on, all right, so those loans through the real search are still unsecured, and you're left with a population of the secured assets, which secured by real estate, you can consider different kinds of options by how to materialize that particular investment. But after you identify the group of unsecured assets, the next step would be you take those assets and you do something called overage search, which is, hopefully, if you're in real estate, right? So if on the foreclosure auction there's some money left, or tax auction, some money left from the sheriff's sale, that should cover liens in priority. There's a chance that your lien can have some money left over that you can pocket by claiming your priority in the collection chain. So that's an interesting workflow for the second lien buyers, right? And that's charge-offs would go through the same workflow, right? So that's it for today. It's a little bit different than before, right? So we didn't talk about the how to read the title reports, as Scott already had in the prior sessions. He can send you a video on that. How to read the dashboard and the fields available in the dashboard that I mentioned today. But I'm hoping that today you'll get a flavor of, what's available to you, what's the workflow look like, how the market is today, and where you would utilize our services. As a final note, as I mentioned before, we're connected with a lot of folks. So if you need to prepare the document based on our report, we'll refer to a doc prep company. If you need to have a BPO done or ABM done, we can connect you. Scott can connect you to the right company. If you need a title insurance that uses our title searches, we can connect you to our partner company. So it's basically building an ecosystem based on your access strategy, right? So Scott can help you. Scott can educate you. If you have any questions on title, you know who to contact here.
The man, the myth, the title legend, Mr. Alex Goldovsky there. Love the presentation. Got a couple people want to know if you wouldn't mind sharing your slides on that stuff. If you wanted to. If you don't, no biggie, I get it. I would say only share the slides if they're buying title reports from you and O&E reports from you, right, brother?
Bingo. Yeah. It has a little bit more information that I'm willing to share to everybody, but certainly if you would like to talk to us about the title reports, as a bonus, I'll share that information with you.
Right. We got a question from Jeanette. She asked a question: does your company provide title services on property where the mortgage is not involved, as in to clear title on property? Case there are no heirs can't be found to settle the estate of deceased owner of 50% of property.
Yeah.
The other 50% of title is clear, but remain has been deemed by several attorneys as too costly to clear, unlikely ever to be cleared?
Well, the answer is yes. We have our own attorney staff. They can look at it. They're pro real estate attorneys. They can look at it and advise you. I don't think they'll charge anything for just evaluating the case. If it involves quiet title, you need an attorney. We cannot be the ones representing you, right? So you need a local attorney representing you to clear the title. Yes, we can help you. It's case by case, right? I cannot tell you that we can help you or our attorney in the network will. So yes, we will help. Send us an email, and we'll review your case.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the website there for everybody to have, because people are asking questions about contact information. You're not going to be contacting Alex directly. Alex is a bit of a busy guy, knocking some things out there, but here's the ways to connect with them. Order your title searches there, right there, and all the contact information you need is straight at ProTitleUSA.com, right, Alex?
Yeah, so if you need more information, there's a option to request a demo. So if you're a volume buyer or you don't know which reports to utilize, just fill out the information and Veronica from our office will get in touch with you. If Scott can click on that services pull-down menu, that's important to know. On the other side of the order your title search now, yes. So O&A reports is the current owner O&A search is typically the product that you need, right? This is a basic title search for your asset due diligence. Two owner searches, if you typically are a foreclosure attorney, you would use that. 30-year search, which is a full search, is used for title insurance. Used investor don't need that. If you're buying commercial assets, use commercial search. And the bottom three you probably don't need, and a lot of people order it in error. Mortgage and assignment search is typically needed for doc prep and recording companies, or find out who the last assignee is in the chain of assignments. Let's say that you have a broker trying to sell you a pool of loans, and you want to find out who the real seller is. So mortgage and assignment might be a good product for that, to know who the last assignee is. Deed search and chain of title search, typically you don't need. So I want to make sure you don't make a mistake by ordering your own product.
Yeah, right there. Easy to deal with. And that's the biggest thing. Whether you're ordering 1 or 100, ProTitle is a great company to work with on that, guys out there. Alex, you can see, very due diligent. I honestly think the smartest guy in the note industry, personally, because you're always constantly updating. You've just opened a title company in New York State to handle closings and work in that area too for you over the last, was about the last year you opened a title company there?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Man, time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yep. Yeah, so I'm not the smartest guy. I would put Elon Musk, then me, right? Then, no, well, Scott Carson and then me, you know, so no, there's a chain there.
You look a little bit like Elon there. I bet you dress up for Halloween as him, couldn't you?
Yeah, my wife calls me Ellen all the time. Yeah, it's like a poor brother, you know, one of those guys.
Poor brother, poor distant brother there out there for you. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Alex, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy Friday afternoon. I know how important you are to get to spend time with the kids and the family on the weekends, and you head out usually early on Friday. So thanks so much for hanging around and spending an extra hour with us, brother.
My pleasure. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, buddy.
See everybody.
Thanks so much, sir. We'll see you later, all right?
Great. Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to take a short little, just take a 10-minute break. Everybody run, grab some coffee. Restroom, want to get up, stretch. We'll come back with our final hour 10, hour 15 to our first day here with the virtual note buying workshop. So 10-minute break, and we'll go from there. See you guys back in just a few minutes.